So the next thing I'm going to go and talk about is the modulation on the Wavetable synthesizer. Basically we have two envelopes and LFOs and velocity and pitch, all as possible modulation sources, and those can in general modulate the volume of the note, the position of the wavetable, or the filter, or the pitch. So the simplest one, I guess, in that it's always in effect, is the volume envelope, which is always connected to the first envelope. In the tool, these ones here, attack time, decay time. Basically, it's a normal ADSR, except you've got variable shape for attack and decay. Decay is also used for release, which lets you choose between a kind of a linear ramp and a very exponential ramp. So that's default settings. If I wind up the attack time, got much longer attacks. Change the decay, sustain, and then release as well. Let's make that really swishy. So that's your basic volume envelope. Let's go back to some slightly shorter times now so we can hear it more readily. Now by default, velocity is affecting the depth of the envelope. That's this parameter here, set to 100%. If you want less dependence of volume with velocity, you can put that down, or you can put that down. So now there's no effect on the volume on the velocity, which means all your notes are the same volume, but it also means that the velocity is now completely freed up to control something else if you so wish. But I'm going to put that back to normal. And I'll also mention the gate inputs, the analog gate inputs in this mode are also velocity sensitive. So if you've got something like the zero control from Make Noise, which has a velocity gate output, you can have velocity sensitive control through CV gate, not just through MIDI. So attack shape, decay shape I mentioned. There's the second envelope has all the same parameters, basically attack, decay, sustain, release, and two shapes. The difference being that the sustain level on envelope 2 can go negative, which means that you can have an envelope which starts at 0 and goes up and then goes down below 0 and then back to the sustain level and then sustains off. So that's helpful for certain kinds of modulation. And well, I guess before we talk about modulating the filter, we should cover the filter. The filter is switchable between off, low pass, band pass, and high pass. And then there's a frequency and a resonance. So let's leave that on low pass for now, so we can hear it doing stuff. Okay, so basic filter per voice, but useful. And then modulation. So they're in groups, obviously, depending on what you've got. Velocity, pitch, envelope 1, envelope 2, and LFO. The LFO is a simple LFO. It's per voice rather than one overall one. And the speed is set through this parameter here. So let's just go through and put a few of these on. So velocity to wave, that's going to change the position in the wavetable based on the velocity of the note. And I'm going to change the display on the disting so you can see that. So depending on how hard I hit it, I'm going to get a different position in the wavetable. Easy to understand. Put that back. Velocity to filter, same idea. So we'll put the filter down. So depending on how hard I hit it, it's going to change the filter position. Again, useful, simple. Pitch to wave. Now that's basically keyboard tracking affecting the wavetable position. I'm just going to go back and make sure I put spread off. Yeah. So by default, that's all using the same position in the wavetable. If I put pitch to wave on, again, while I do this, I'm going to turn autofocus off so that the display here doesn't keep flicking back to the thing we're editing, which you often want, but maybe in this case we don't. Where were we? Pitch to wave, there we go. So you can see as I go up the keyboard, the wavetable position changes. So that's a nice way of getting some variation into your sound, or if you're looking to emulate something realistic, say a piano where the tone does very much change up and down the keyboard, you can achieve that through there. Pitch to filter, that's your classic filter keyboard tracking basically. So if we put that, well, let's put that off and then wind the filter down. No, not that one. So no keyboard tracking, you can hear it now. As I go up, it's filtered off. Pitch to filter, that's turning keyboard tracking on. So it's raising the filter frequency as you go up the keyboard. Standard synth feature. And now we get, let's put that one back up a bit. Envelope to wave. Now this is where it gets specifically wave-tabley. To modify the envelope position with the wavetable position with the envelope. Now on this particular wavetable, that because there's so much variation in this wavetable, it sounds crazy when you rapidly go between different positions on the same table. So I'm going to go back to a different one. So you can see some animation in the wavetable there, but I'm going to do that on envelope 2 because then it's independent of the volume envelope and we can maybe hear it a bit better. So I've put envelope 2 to wave up to 100%, and I'm going to change the attack on envelope 2 to make it a bit slower. And let's change the decay and release as well. And then you can hear as it goes through the course of a note, it's going to animate through the wavetable. And when I release it, it'll go back. I probably need a bit more actual release. So that's a good way of getting some motion into your sounds. And then so that's wave, and then envelope to filter, as you'd expect, is the same thing but with the filter. So that's, let's put the filter down. There we go. So we've got the filter sweeping over the course of a note. All very nice. Envelope 2 to pitch is where it can get a little bit hairy. And we'll put the filter back up. But let's turn the filter off. So now we're into sound design territory rather than music maybe, but because release time, this is a good time to demonstrate the sustain level 2 can go negative, so let's make those shorter. So we've got attack going up and then down to below 0 for sustain. And then up again. So it's going up at the end of the note. Put that at 0, then it's going to actually be in tune for the... So now we've got like a transient pitch wobble on the front. And if we put that negative, it's going to go down rather than up. all good fun. LFO, as I mentioned before, so LFO to wave, it's pretty fast. So now you see our LFO is modulating the wave position. And similarly LFO to filter, need to turn the filter back on. And then LFO to pitch. So there we go, that's our basic modulation matrix on the Wavetable algorithm.